Thank you so much, Grier, for joining me. I'm really excited about today's conversation. So today we are going to talk about this idea of being well transitioned. So key steps to transitioning your advisory practice and setting yourself up for growth. So you're an expert in transitioning assets. I'm an expert in growth for advisory practices. So I cannot wait to talk. Now, I just want to quickly give you a quick introduction about myself. So Shauna Mace from Inspire Growth. We provide business consulting specialized in sales and high performance to financial advisors. And now when I met Grier, I felt like I knew her just through her LinkedIn post. She puts a lot of great content out on LinkedIn. And I learned that she is a woman of many talents. And so I wanted to kick off this conversation with a fun fact. I'm going to share my fun fact, which is relevant to the conversation around transition. And I can't wait to hear Grier's because she has many. But so I actually married my high school sweetheart. We met when we were 15 years old. And the fun fact is he is a financial advisor who has gone through 3 different firm transitions, which is crazy. Not all by choice, but 3 different transitions. So I've seen from the sideline kind of what it's like to go through just even one transition. And I know it's a lot of work. And so I'm really excited to hear from Grier how to do that successfully if you're thinking about making a transition from one firm to another, and how to really set yourself up. We'll talk about how to set yourself up for growth on the other side. So Grier, I would love if you could introduce yourself and share a fun fact about yourself.
Yes, thank you, Shauna. I'm Grier Rubeling. I am the owner and operator of Advisor Transition Services. My background is actually in client services and operations. I worked for advisors most of my career, and I just happened to be led down this path where I was working for a lot of advisors that were initiating transitions during my tenure with them. So I recognize the transition process for what it is. It's a little bit painful, sometimes scary and time consuming, but it is also a catalyst for something amazing with unlimited upside potential. And in 2018, I got the entrepreneurial bug myself, and I decided that I wanted to be an advisor advocate, and I wanted to help advisors through these transitions and assist them with the process of taking the next steps in their entrepreneurial journeys. So yeah, my fun fact, actually, I will play a little bit off of yours. My husband and I met on a blind date, and actually it was set up by a friend of his through high school who was a coworker of mine at the time. And we went to a Washington Capitals hockey game on our first date, and the rest was kind of history. So I actually owe my love story to the financial services industry. So I'm happy with my journey personally and professionally.
I love that. I love that. Love hockey too. We're Vermonters, so we're big hockey fans.
Yes, yes. Go Cats.
That's great. Go, yeah, absolutely. Go Cats. Love the reference. So let's start at the beginning. So when advisors are seeking your services, what are some of the most common reasons that they're looking to make a transition?
I'd say that most of the specific reasons are going to be a little bit different, but the main themes that I hear over and over again are freedom, mostly away from the employee model, and the flexibility to build a practice that can serve clients the way that they deserve to be served. And then again, that unlimited upside earning potential. And so just the freedom and choice to do things the way that you want to do things rather than the way that you are told to do things.
Yeah, I hear that a lot too. I actually have a number of clients who have recently made the transition, and now they're looking to really like kind of take their business to this next level and kind of build out the business that they really want. So I love that. And it is often driven by freedom, autonomy, like just desire for, doing their own thing the way they want to do it, serving clients
exactly
the way they want, which is great. So when you're thinking of, if I'm an advisor and I'm thinking about making a transition, what sort of expectations should I have when preparing? How long does it take? What should I be preparing for as far as the amount of work before, during, after, how much my business is going to come over? Like, what are the things that I should be thinking about, and what sort of expectations should I be realistic about as I think about making a transition to another firm?
Well, managing expectations is one of the most important things that you can focus on in a transition, not just your own expectations, but those of your clients as well. There are things that you can do during the process to make it easier on yourself and your team and your clients. So your timeline is really going to depend on your particular situation, but I would not expect things to be normal for several months during that first during the transition, for those first few months when you really are focusing on getting your business up and running rather than figuring out how it's going to run for the rest of the time. The bulk of the administrative work usually happens in the first month, but once that bottleneck is gone, and there will definitely be a bottleneck, things will start to slow down and you can really start to function the way that you want to going forward. So preparation is key. Know your legal allowances and then have detailed and accurate data that you are bringing with you or you're collecting, and customize your process to specifics that of your client's needs. So do your research, ask questions, write out your steps, write out instructions, write out client scripts so that you know what you want to say to clients. It's a lot of work all at once. My sole job is to work transitions, and I still get overwhelmed sometimes. So the percentage of your book that you are bringing with you, well, it's going to be different for everyone. And I wouldn't necessarily focus on percentages, because think about the business that you want to run going forward and the clients that you want to serve. There are clients that you probably won't want to bring with you. And no matter whether they call you and they ask how they can come with you or not, you really want to be able to know what to say to them to let them know that your new business isn't necessarily a fit for them anymore. And so the more you plan what to say to your clients, the more comfortable you'll be in the conversations, and the more likely it is that they'll feed off of your confidence, and the ones that you do want to bring with you will absolutely want to join you. So you can try to calculate your level of success in percentages, but you're likely leaving a business model that's very different from the one that you're creating. So numbers aren't always going to be the real story. I would say focus more on what you want the business to look like and whether or not the clients that you're bringing with you understand that model and are ready to move forward with you in that model. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah, so much great advice. I think the things that I heard you say, and a lot of it's very similar to advice that I give clients looking to grow. One is setting expectations. So important. So again, service, even if it's in your current business, just the service model you're providing, what is the experience going to be like? So you can at least meet it, if not, ideally exceed it. The other thing you mentioned that I really love is this idea of like building the future business, like focus on the future business, not on the current business. As far when you think about who are you going to bring over and how are you going to communicate that? I know an exercise that I do with a lot of clients. There's niches obviously is a big topic in this industry, and I try to get people to focus on building out or understanding who their ideal client profiles are, like starting there. And there's some exercises, a worksheet I can provide if anyone's interested. Just email me. But that's a really good place to start, because that way you start to get really clear on who is the right fit and who isn't for your business, and who you can best serve, and who's going to also have a great experience. One of the things that I may be helpful as you think about, and I don't know if you ever come across this or not, I'm interested if you do. I know I talk to advisors a lot around knowing, like, themselves having someone or multiple different trusted partners, other advisors that they can refer their clients to that aren't a great fit. That's something that I know a lot of people don't do, and it can be really nice, but it can be really nice to have and provide a really great experience for your clients, or for if you get a prospect or a referral and it's just not a good fit, and you feel like I have to take it, but you really know you don't want to take it, or it's not going to be a long-term the right situation for them or you, to have someone or have other people you can refer to that may be better fit. So that's something that I know a number of my clients are do, but largely because they felt like they were stuck with certain clients or they were stuck with certain referrals. And again, that's not how we build businesses. We don't build, we build the business with our ideal clients. That's how we really grow. So that's really great advice. So what are the most important steps that you're an expert in this. So what are the most important steps pre, during, and post transition to set yourself up for success?
Well, for pre-transition, much of it is going to be exactly what you mentioned, a full evaluation of your current book, rank your households, decide who makes the cut, who you want to focus on speaking to first when you have to make those initial calls, and which relationships are going to require the most effort. So clean up your book and make sure that you're also doing some logistical cleanup, but not in a way that raises any red flags. So check things like accounts where the minors have reached the age of majority and the accounts haven't been changed yet, or deceased parties that haven't been removed from accounts, zero balance credit lines with collateral accounts that are still attached to them, non-transferable securities. So, and make sure that you have accurate information on all of your clients for contacting them, because if any of that is not handled beforehand, it's going to be have to handled after the fact, and it's a lot harder to get things done when you are not the servicing advisor on the accounts anymore, when you're actually dealing with the new advisor. And that way sometimes the clients are going to have to do those things on their own, which is going to be a lot harder for them. I would say during the transition, it's really important to have a team. Trying to take on a transition on your own is really ill-advised. Hire a transition consultant or a part-time employee. Make sure that everyone knows what their roles are. They understand what the commitment level is for that first few months, and they are properly trained. So you want to make sure that you can delegate tasks to your team members, keep track of everything you do. I like to use something I call my master spreadsheet, which has all of the accounts listed on it. It has a status column that I can update every time I do something on anything. And I will actually conditionally format it so that it changes colors when I make changes to the spreadsheet. So everybody can glance at it. They can see the color that they know goes with a certain status. And so the more green, the better. And then post-transition, I would say start reaping the benefits. Look back on the transition and recognize that it was a little bit of a necessary evil, but now you're ready to take on the world and hopefully won't ever have to go through the process again. And that's where they can really start focusing on doing some of the practice management things that you bring to the table, and really focusing on making that business the best that it can be now that you've gotten through the worst of it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, follow-up question to that is are there specific things that so again, I've had a number of clients who have recently gone through transitions and they're really ready to like they've done all the hard work, their say old business is kind of behind them, their new business is in front of them, they're excited, they're engaged, they're really looking to grow to the next level. Are there specific things that they should be doing upfront to help them grow? I know you mentioned expectations, and I know you mentioned we talked about having ideal client profiles, like knowing where you're going. Is there anything else that you see in your experience working with advisors, anyone who's done it really well, that you would just say, learning from how they did it or that experience that would help advisors as they're going through or prepping for a transition to really be set up for growth? And of course, I have some things that I've seen, but I'm really interested in what you've seen because you see more of these transition than I have.
Yes. So, I mean, you've touched on a lot of it, and you're probably the better expert at this than I am. But I would say when you are transition planning and when you are going through the transition, start by thinking about your ideal client, what your niche is, and use that to kind of evaluate where you want to be, where you want your book of business to be, and then think about that in terms of your processes and procedures. everything's going to be a little bit different during a transition. It's all being done at once. It's all being done quickly. So you can't necessarily put everything into effect that you want to do on a regular basis, but you can start to kind of build out the pieces as you go along. So how do you want clients to be treated on a regular basis? How do you customize your transition to start utilizing that in a way? Let's say your CRM. If you want to start using a new CRM, set it up in the beginning. Start using it from the start. If you have things that your clients are saying to you that are brought up in conversations in the transition, well, make sure that you are recording that information so that you can then start implementing it after the fact. If you want your clients to understand your new business and why you started it and why it's a little bit different from the business that you had before at your former firm, then you want to start crafting your marketing materials and your client communications to match that message and match that brand that you are creating. So think about your visibility and how you want yourself presented, even in the materials that your clients are getting for the new business during the transition. So if the clients start to see your efforts and they start to understand it, then they might be more willing to make referrals that they weren't as willing to make in the past, because now you're the owner of that business and you're doing everything that you can to make their experience a better one. And they recognize that and they want to share that with others.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, I love the idea that you mentioned about, it sounds like really kind of using it as an opportunity to create the infrastructure, whether it's technology or the client service model, like create that infrastructure, have that in your mind and be creating that or setting those kind of that into action as you're going through the transition. I know what I've seen is a couple things. One is that oftentimes the resources that you had and then have are different. So kind of understanding, what if you're going independent, what do I need to do to market and promote myself and take care of all of the, obviously, like the compliance and the regulatory stuff. So I'm in good shape, because it's obviously you're wearing many more hats in that world. I've also seen people move from different firms where they're still under a larger umbrella, and not necessarily, there's always surprises. That's one of the things that no surprise, there's always surprises. Things never work as well, or there's whatever maybe there's promise, it doesn't always turn out exactly like that. But really, I think what I would say, setting yourself up for growth, it's like understanding at your core, what do you want? What is this what are the ideal tenants, like the most important things that are essential to your business, and making sure that you're going to be able to execute on those things with either the systems, the resources, the support that you have. And if you aren't, like, how are you going to solve for that? Knowing that up front, you can solve for it. If you're don't realize it till after the fact, then it becomes a lot more frustrating and difficult. And the other thing, I think it's really one of the greatest parts of transitioning is you're able to really, you have an opportunity to rebrand yourself and show up as yourself. And what I find is having that, and I know it's hard, but having that really clear, differentiated value messaging that's very much about the needs of your clients and the solutions and benefits you bring can be really powerful. It's really uncomfortable, hard work to do. But I think that that's something that I'd be thinking about in advance, is how are you going to show up? How are you going to, in conversations, on your website, out in the larger world, on social media, wherever you are showing up, even in conversations just with your friends and network, how are you positioning yourself? And as a sales focused person, I always advise you start with your needs of your ideal client. So this idea of, there's this WIFM, so what's in it for me? So people talk less about you and more about what needs you're solving for, who you're helping to support. And that can be really powerful and fun and exciting. So it's not like you're just talking about yourself, but it's like you're talking about your clients and you're talking about your future clients, which people tend to resonate with.
Absolutely. Yep. I could not have said it better myself.
So if there's one piece of advice that you hope that an advisor listening today who may be thinking about a transition or maybe is in the midst of a transition, one piece of advice that you hope they take away from this conversation, what would that be?
My piece of advice would be do your research. Not all transitions are created equal. So don't assume that your transition is going to be the same as one you've done in the past or one that someone just did that left your company a month ago. They're all going to be a little bit different and they're all it's just you never exactly like what you said. There are always going to be surprises. Don't take the business development officer's word at face value. Push back, ask specific questions, and know what you're getting yourself into. So yes, usually the custodian that you are joining will provide a team to help you with the process, but you need to make sure that you understand the role of that team and make sure that you're prepared to do everything that they do not do. So you want to make sure that the questions you are asking, they can be a little bit uncomfortable. They can be a little bit off the wall, but anything that you can think of, just make sure that you're asking. And if you're not getting the answer that you like, well, then go try to find the answer elsewhere. So just do as much research as possible. Prepare for the worst, but hope for the best.
Good advice. That's great advice. Now, I know you have a ton of resources on your website. You share a lot of really great information on LinkedIn. So if people are looking for resources, advice to connect with you, how can they find you? Where's the best place for them to connect with you and get those resources?
I do have a resources page on my website at advisortransitionservices.com. I have some templates for client letters and my master spreadsheet, a protocol spreadsheet. So you can start there. There's also a link to a few articles that can be very helpful. You can always find me on LinkedIn. I am posting a lot of helpful resources and stories and stuff like that on LinkedIn. I really enjoy just kind of using LinkedIn to connect with people. And you can email me at Grier, Grier, at advisortransitionservices.com. I'm always willing to have a conversation with anybody that is about to go through a transition, is considering one, is in the middle of one. I really like helping advisors through this process. It's why I started my business. So even if it doesn't always result in direct business for me, I love having those conversations with advisors. So always feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Yeah, if you are looking to transition, talk to Grier. She's an expert. This was so much fun, Grier. I know next time I talk to anyone who's looking to transition, I'm sending them your way. If my husband tries to do it again, I'm going to say, don't do it. If you are, talk to Grier. Anyway, it was so much fun. Thank you for all the tips and advice. Really, really a pleasure to talk to you. And if you're looking for growth advice, again, visit me at inspiregrowth.co or on LinkedIn as well at Shauna Mace. So great to talk to you, Grier. Hope to talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you.